Hi there, welcome along to ladbrokes.com. I'm Adriano Russo and this is our preview for, well, the end of season finale as far as UEFA are concerned. It's the Champions League final this Saturday at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium. It's a 8:45 kickoff European time for Bayern Munich against Internazionale. If you're watching it in the UK, of course, it's 7:45. Looking ahead to this game with all the betting preview and the footballing aspect as well. Let's look to our panel here. Familiar faces, of course, from our Premier League previews. The voice of football, John Motson, is alongside me. Hi, Motty, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Looking forward to this one. Yes. And ex-professional and betting expert Ricky George is with us as well. Hi, Rick, how are you?
Good to see you, thank you.
Let's look at this game then. Of course, we're talking about the double winners in Germany against the double winners in Italy. There could be a unique treble on for either of these two sides, couldn't they?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Bayern sneaked into this final, though, a little bit, if you look at their route to it. I hate to sort of undermine them, but, you know, they were a bit jittery early on, weren't they?
They were a bit early on, and of course there was that match at Old Trafford against Manchester United, wasn't there, when everybody thought United were as good as through and Bayern scraped it on the away goals. The difference between these two famous clubs is that Bayern's European Cup record, they've won it 4 times, 3 times in the 70s and in 2001. Inter, of course, have won it before, but you have to go right back to the 60s. And the interesting thing here is that Luis van Gaal has got a pedigree as long as your arm, the Bayern coach. And we all know that Jose Mourinho won the Champions League with Porto and came very close with Chelsea. So there's a heck of a pedigree there between the two coaches, let alone the fact that of the players likely to take part in the match, 17 or 18 will be playing for their various countries in the forthcoming World Cup.
Ricky, how much do you look at the way they got to this final as being an indicator of how the match might go? Because, you know, as John's pointed out, both the managers have won it before the tournament, both the clubs have won it before.
Yeah.
How far do you look at that history?
Well, I think if you look at Bayern's qualifying route, it's probably not quite as impressive as Inter's, but Bayern Munich seem to have got better and better as the season has gone on, and as you just said, they've won their domestic double as well. I think Inter's wins over Chelsea and then Barcelona are the ones that make them favourites for this, and of course the Mourinho factor. They are so well organised and so very, very difficult to beat.
When you look at the footballing aspect of both these sides, both of you gents can answer this one, of course, you'd suspect that Inter are going to be cautious and defensive, maybe as they were against Chelsea, and Bayern maybe a bit more expansive.
Well, you do. I mean, Inter have got Julio Cesar, the Brazilian goalkeeper, who's reputed to be now one of the best in the world. They've got 3 international defenders, Maicon and Lucio of Brazil and Walter Samuel of Argentina, so they've got a very sound basis for their team. Attacking-wise, of course, they depend an awful lot on Schneider, the Dutchman, and on the striking power of Diego Milito, who's Argentine as well, and Samuel Eto'o from Cameroon. Then again, you look at Bayern and you'd say, well, probably they are just as well equipped in attack, except that Frank Ribery is suspended for his red card in the semi-final, so that's going to weaken Bayern, and they'll depend an awful lot on 2 players I would pick out there. Ivica Olic, the Croatian, who's been scoring goals all through this competition, and the man who I think could be the match winner, and as it's been Chelsea's year in England, we can link him in the past, can't we, Rick? Arjen Robben, who has been absolutely outstanding for Bayern in this competition, and I've got a funny feeling he might do some damage to Inter Milan.
Taking up that mantle, Ricky, do you see that as Inter more the defensive side and Bayern the more attacking side, particularly the players that he's mentioned, Olic and Robben?
That's the fascinating point about the whole game, isn't it? And some of Robben's goals have been really outstanding. Look at the one he got against Fiorentina, which took them through. Of course, they went through on their away goals there.
They did.
Exactly the same as they did it with Manchester United, and he scored again at Old Trafford, didn't he? But of course, the leading scorer for Bayern in this particular competition has been Olic, the Serbian, and
7 so far in the competition.
7. Now, there's an interesting bet there with Ladbrokes because at the moment Lionel Messi leads the way with 8 goals in the Champions League. Olic has scored 7. Of course, he's got 1 game to go now. As far as betting is concerned, Ladbrokes go 1-6 that Messi will end up leading goal scorer, and 7-2 against Olic. So should he get a couple on Saturday night, of course, you've got a 7-2 bet there.
Some of these finals don't always turn out to be epic pieces of football. I mean, you've covered plenty of World Cup and European games yourself, John. What are you expecting from the match?
I was in the Bernabeu, funnily enough. This is a little bit of personal history. I was on holiday in Spain with my wife back in 1980, and I saw Nottingham Forest win the European Cup. It was the 2nd time they'd won it. They won it the year before, of course, when they beat Malmo. But I saw them beat Hamburg and Kevin Keegan, and I remember thinking that night it was a pretty scrappy old game. John Robertson's goal won it, and many European Cup finals and Champions League finals have been very, very similar. And I think when you put 2 teams on the pitch with this amount of quality, yes, they could become overcautious, but even if they don't, it's going to be very, very hard to separate them. And I mean, I think the Bernabeu is a great football theatre, and I think it's going to be a terrific occasion, and it'll have a captivating TV audience, not just in Europe but across the world. I find it quite hard to actually separate these two, and I don't know, Ricky, whether the betting reflects.
Yeah, what do the prices say?
Well, it does. Although Inter are quite hot favourites for this. They're 11-10 Inter to win it in 90 minutes, 2-1 against Bayern, and 11-5 the draw. Just to lift the trophy, Inter are 8-15 odds on favourites, and Bayern 7-5. And of course, looking back on previous Champions League finals, and John and I will remember, or European Cup as they used to call it, the famous 1960 final at Hampden Park between Real Madrid and Eintracht Frankfurt.
Sure.
7-3, 4 goals for Ferenc Puskas and 3 for Alfredo Di Stefano, and it's something that's lived in my memory, as you can probably see, ever since. I don't know whether this will quite reach the heights, but it's going to be a fascinating contest.
There's plenty of markets on the Ladbrokes.com website. Have a look at them. We can't go through all of them clearly in this little piece here, Ricky, but I know in our discussions before, what you were picking out for good value bets is maybe to pick a scorer and a scoreline, which gives you a higher percentage return. Maybe throw some of those at John.
The interesting one, I mean, there are 62 markets, no fewer than 62 markets.
Not a very big game, this one. Quite a quiet one.
And that, I mean, that really, you can take your pick here. You can go from correct score to half-time, full-time, to first goal scorer, and then scorecast. Now, you know, these are quite interesting bits. Scorecast, that'll be first goal scorer and predict the correct score. So I'll give John a couple, see what you think. If Bayern win 1-0 and Olic is the scorer, you get 40-1. If Inter win 2-0 and Milito scores the first goal, it's 30-1. Your man, Iron Robin. Now, should he score the first goal and Bayern win 2-0, you get 75-1. It's 25-1 for Inter to win 1-0 and Samuel Eto'o to be the scorer. And it's 66-1 against Bayern winning 2-1 and Miroslav Klose to be the first goal scorer. So, you know, take your pick. And there is so many different options here if you want to have a bet.
Final thought, John, what are you going to go for on your score prediction as well?
I'm going to go against the favourites. I'm actually going to go for Bayern to squeak it. 1-0, 2-1 maybe, because, well, Mourinho's teams don't let in many goals anyway, do they? So if Bayern get one and that's enough to win it, fair enough. And I'm going to stick with Iron Robin. I think that my scorecast bet would be Bayern to win, say 1-0 or maybe 2. I mean, but Robin to certainly be a scorer, and obviously to get that kind of money, I'd have to make him first scorer. But I think Robin will give them trouble.
Yeah, if Fergie was in the studio, he'd say typical Germans winning the final. I think.
Yes, he would.
Yes. What do you go for, Rick?
With the Dutchman, I mean, there are just 2 Dutchmen in the side, and about nine Germans. Yeah, well, I'm actually going to go for Inter to win 1-0. I'm going to go Samuel Eto'o to be the goal scorer. 25-1 you'll get for that.
Well, split decision by the jury here, which really sums up what a great game it's going to be. Have a look at the markets, because you can probably split your allegiances and spread your money around on the Ladbrokes.com website. And as Ricky says, plenty of markets to sink your teeth into. Gentlemen, get the beers in. Enjoy the game on Saturday, won't you?
Looking forward to it, absolutely.
Motti and Ricky as well.
Thanks, Adriano.
There we go. Bayern against Internazionale. It's at the Santiago Bernabeu in Madrid. It's this Saturday. Enjoy the game. We'll catch you soon. Bye-bye.